jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports,
Yo, welcome back. And big shout out to the hottest chat in the MFing game. A-Side official. No negotiations needed, period. WCS is back in the building. Shout out to Carlos on deck. Man, I see you. What it do, man? He said Bud had to retire. They were too scared of what would happen. Well-earned retirement champ 3 times. And for those of you that's not aware or been paying attention, 3 times mean 140, 147 pounds, 168 pounds. All 3 of those divisions, he was undisputed. He will always be recognized and identified and remembered through the boxing annals for being the first to become 2-time undisputed in the 4-belt era and the first to become 3 times undisputed in the 4-belt era. Give it up. Yeah, that's my soundboard manually. So let's talk about it. Boxingscene.com put out an article. Shout out to Boxing Scene. It said, and just like that, it was over. No farewell tour, no stadium send-off, no tears behind, on flanked by belts. Terrence Crawford, the quiet virtuoso of the fight game, announced his retirement with a whisper rather than a roar. Just a short clip online. The kind that might slip past the casual browser. And in that modest exit lay a truth that has accompanied his entire journey. Brilliance rarely needs to shout. Say one more again. Brilliance rarely needs to shout. That is a well-written intro by BoxingScene.com and the author, Frankie Mines. Shout out to you, man. It goes on to say, this was not the dramatic end many had forecasted. No violent reckoning in the arms of Canelo Alvarez. No cruel fate against a younger, hungrier man. Just a man having conquered yet another mountain, deciding that the climb was no longer necessary. And perhaps that's the most Crawford way to go out. On his own terms. Unimpressed by the noise. Uninterested in the ceremony. In truth, had this announcement come after the Errol Spence demolition or before the Canelo upset, it might have barely dented the boxing news cycle. Such has been the indifference shown to Crawford across too much of his career. There has been a segment of the sport, American networks, certain promoters, even parts of the media who've regarded him with a peculiar apathy, as if mastery must be allowed to be legitimate. Hey, talk your Frankie. Talk that talk, man. But Crawford, almost to a fault, refused to play the game. He was not built for the pandemonium. He didn't woo the camera or craft personas. His defiance was quieter, but more devastating. delivered with southpaw counters and unrelenting control, not Twitter spats or rehearsed bravado. Those who dismissed him misunderstood that they were seeing. He was boring. He was too good. And for too long, that brilliance was treated as an inconvenience. Yet, even the coldest records shiver under the heat of Crawford's resume. 18 world title fights, lineal championships in 3 weight divisions, world titles collected in 5. At 135 and 154, he slipped in, snatched belts, and slipped out. But at 140 and 147, he staged long, calculated sieges. He became not just a champion, but overlord. And when that wasn't enough, he leaped 2 divisions and beat the man at 168 pounds. His first coronation came on foreign soil, a masterclass in glass cough that snapped Ricky Burns' 7-year unbeaten run. In his first defense, he took on the twitchy, unpredictable Yuriorkis Gamboa and took him apart in 9. Ray Beltran came next and left with little more than confirmation that this wasn't a title holder playing at excellence. This was the real thing. At junior welterweight, Crawford shifted into something more frightening. Delorme, Postal, Molina, Diaz. They all came and went, none leaving much of a dent. And then Julius Ndongo, unbeaten and carrying 2 belts, walked into a mauling. Crawford needed just 3 rounds. The undisputed champion, no ifs, no buts, no franchise belts muddying the waters. He cleaned the division like a man folding laundry. Efficient, unfussed, utterly in control. Shout out to everybody that's in the building. Jay, I see you. What's good? I am drifting through this passage of boxingscene.com. Shout out to Frankie, the author. When he moved to 147, the critics stirred. Jeff Horn, soft belt. Amir Khan and Kell Brook, shot, said the whispers. But between those names, Igis Kavalauskas and Sean Porter, live, ambitious, aggressive fighters who were both systematically dismantled. It wasn't always the names people wanted, but the performances couldn't be dismissed. He dominated. He adjusted. He devoured. Still, one fight lingered in purgatory for too long. Errol Spence Jr., the delay felt criminal. Boxing suits, top rank on one side, PBC on the other. Couldn't get their house in order. And while they did it, the moment slipped. The fight became a great fight, but never quite a cultural touchstone. It should have been Leonard versus Hearns for this generation. Instead, it arrived dusted with what ifs. But when it finally did arrive, in the heat of a Vegas summer in July 2023, Crawford didn't just win. He dismantled Spence with the chilling finality of a master submitting a gifted apprentice. From the second round onwards, the fight was a blood-soaked dissection. Spence didn't just lose. He looked like a man being unmade. By the ninth, the referee stepped in to end the suffering. Spence's eyes said it all. And then came the audacity. Crawford, now undisputed welterweight king, moved to 154, outpointed the sturdy Israel Madrimov, and made the sort of announcement only he could, a 4-belt clash with Canelo Alvarez as super middleweight. It was a challenge from a smaller man to a bigger myth. It shouldn't have been possible. But Crawford is allergic to boxing logic. He didn't just beat Canelo, he robbed him of rhythm, stripped him of belief. He boxed like a thief in the night, calm and confident as he picked the locks of Canelo offense and rewired the bout in his own tempo. Another division, another throne, all without a hint of hesitation. You can only watch in disbelief and smile. Never down, never dominated, never robbed by judges or chased by ghosts. There was no period of decline, no late night paparazzi footage, no ugly final act. The man from Omaha, who had known guns and games before gloves and gum shields, walked through boxing with the kind of sovereign silence you either noticed or you didn't. Shout out to Boxing Scene for the article. Highlight the GOAT himself, the legend, Terrence Bud Crawford. It's definitely, for some people, a very happy occasion, a disingenuous smile for some. The ones that are truly happy for Terrence Crawford understand he put in the work. He may have been considered one of these very quiet, standoffish, arrogant early on in his career, denounced the media. But as you mature, as your career continued to blossom, he showed people in the ring while he was at work. This is what he did to provide for himself and his family. He was center square in the ring, y'all. This was his job. This was his career. This was where he can make his name forever, to be considered something above average when it comes to athletes, when it comes to individuals in Omaha, Nebraska, a place where they don't have a lot of professional sports. But they do have this boxer called Terrence Bud Crawford, who is now a legend. He has stamped himself with approval, unwilling to co-sign, to go along with the orders, unwilling just to follow, unwilling just to go to the gym and not perform at max effort, not attempting to learn, not continue to improving. He never took his career as just a paycheck, so to speak. You always seem like Crawford believed in what he was saying, and he wasn't going to allow anybody to second guess if he was the best or not. He just went in there and one fight after the next fight after the next fight, continue to win, continue to improve, and continue to let people know that he wasn't an average fighter. Tough, tenacious, gritty, mobile. Complements the sweet science. They used to say that Crawford was a switch hitter. Now they just say he's a southpaw, y'all. You had so many people, so many individuals on here when it comes to talking about the sport. There was so many individuals on here that was unwilling to mention Crawford's ability, how advanced it was amongst his peers, how he was expected to go in there and have a tough fight, but yet made it look easy. This is Sir Crawford we talking about. He's in the pantheon of boxing, y'all. This man isn't an average athlete. This man is everywhere right now. And listen, what better time for him to travel? What better time for him to leave his footprints? Because he's earned every step, every exit, every mile, every city, and every country. He's earned the respect to be considered not just a fighter, a boxer, but an international superstar. That's Terrence Crawford. That's why he's one of my favorite fighters. That's why he just won't be remembered for one specific fight. He won't just be remembered for the Errol Spence fight. He won't just be remembered for the Canelo fight. He will be remembered for the challenge when others believed that he was undersized, he lacked the ability, he lacked the strength, he just couldn't get it done against a more popular fighter. A lot of those individuals thought just because they didn't know too much about him, or they felt like his resume was marginal, substandard, he wouldn't make it to the mark. He wouldn't make it to achieve and have these accomplishments, to have the medals that now sits forever, to record the data of his achievements like we've seen. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. For time, years upon years, they used to mention Gamboa hurting Crawford. Gamboa, that's all you used to hear. Gamboa, Gamboa. Now you don't have you don't hear a peak. Gamboa's residuals off these content creators mention his name. It's just a granule of sand right now. You can't find it. People be a fool to talk about Crawford being hurt by Gamboa, because that was one of the measures that they was using to wager that he wouldn't last in there against Spence, that Spence was too much of a power puncher. That's what they wanted you to believe. The way he went in there and showed the world that him and his team are different, and they take every fighter seriously, not just Errol Spence, but they take every fighter seriously so the results can speak for themselves. And that's exactly what his team did. Bomac should be in recognition for not just the Errol Spence fight, not just the Canelo fight. He should be in recognition for one of the best coaches, best boxing coaches to ever do it. Him and his team. Because you just can't say it's just Crawford. You have to understand that Crawford and his ability to go out here and get the check in the box, to have his hand raised, to continue to prove the doubters wrong, to go in there and get a definitive victory. You have to say to yourself, if Crawford is a legend, then who trained him? If Crawford is a legend, then who are the hands? Who was doing the repetitions? Who was on the road? Who was on the lights in the gym remediating? Who was in there making it all happen? Who was helping he recover? Who was making sure he gets fed so he can build and continue to, when his body was broken down, continue to build it back up so he can have that energy? Who was doing that? Who was coming up with these plans? Who was coming up with the rigors, the regiment that he had to go through? Who was doing that? They should be in recognition also. They should also be enshrined right next to Crawford in recognition when he is inducted to the International Boxing Hall of Fame. NY, what's good? BG in the building. Salute, salute. Andrew Charles in the building. What's good? Bud Smoke Canelo say salute. W says they still hating on Bud in retirement, saying Conte died, so he retired. His resume trash. Appreciate you putting that up there, man. So let me caveat and speak on those those naysayers is never going to go away. It's just like weeds in between the cracks of a driveway. They're going to grow up when they do, but they soon get ran over and over and over and over. And nobody's really seeing them no more. They all shriveled up. That's how I look at anybody who's still saying his resume is trash. Because when Canelo Alvarez was fighting Abner Yildirim coming off a loss, nobody was saying Canelo Alvarez's resume was trash. They wasn't saying when Canelo requested petition for the franchise belt to move away from 160 and not face Jamal Charlo, they weren't saying that was trash, right? Why did he fight Rocky Fielding? Rocky Fielding wasn't nobody. He was just a WBA Reggie title holder. But goddamn it, Canelo Alvarez went up there and fought him. Yes, indeed. He went up there and fought him, y'all. Why he never fought David Benavidez? Why he want to make it personal? If you want to talk about trash, let's talk about actions. Crawford was willing and able to line him up, put him on the GPS, and get to the destination so he can show the world what happened when you step in the ring with Terrence Bud Crawford. That's exactly what he did. Canelo Alvarez in himself is a legend too. He's a Hall of Fame, but he had a different curtain in his career. He had a country that supported him heavy. He had fight fans that used to support him heavy. He had individuals who believed in when he was coming up from a 15-year-old to after he went in there with Floyd Mayweather, dusted, and Floyd pretty much elevated his career off a loss. It's just unfortunate. It was another black, technically skilled, superb, masterclass fighter would come back around and give him his third defeat. Ooh, and he goes by the name of Sir Crawford. Boxing royalty has struck again. First Floyd Mayweather did it. Then Sir Crawford. They can talk all they want, their BG. But what I tell you, they can't change it. You cannot change what is printed in history. The script has dried. It has been recorded and registered. Whenever you look it up in any type of search engine, you're going to come back with the results. 42. But you know me. You know me. You know how I think, right? Let me bring this thumbnail up right quick. Because there are going to be some haters, of course. They're going to say, WCS, I want to tell you something. The thumbnail you got is wrong, WCS. I was hoping you didn't talk about Crawford no more, WCS, since they run a smear campaign on you. But you look up there, WCS. I ain't trying to hate on them, but you got 43 and not 42. Yes, you're right. You know why? Because I believe Terrence Bud Crawford is coming back for one more, which would bring that to a grand total of 43 victories, 31 knockouts, 42 victories, plus one equal 43 once he returned from retirement. Hosted by 31 knockouts. Do you hear me, man? I just had to put that up there because I know I'm going to get some haters that say I put 43 up there. Yes, I believe Terrence Bud Crawford will return out of retirement. And I do believe that potentially it might be Canelo Alvarez in the future. Who knows? Speaking of sentiment, it seems like somebody has sprinkled a little bit of doubt on his confidence. I understand why. Because for somebody to be undersized or His resume didn't quite have what people considered quality opposition, signature fights that people can look in Crawford's resume. I like that fight right there. That fight right there. Yes. It was supposed to be EJ, and it turned into no way. It was supposed to be EJ. It turned into no way. Because from the outside of the bottom rope, there was people out there looking. Oh, I bet so much money on this fight. Why? There were so many people out here saying why, what, when, how. How did Terrence Crawford come up here and dominate EJ like that? And then when the alcohol started to wear off, they started to say, oh, we know why, because he was weight drained and all the other excuses that they paperclip to it. We don't want to hear that. Just like BG said, they trying to talk about Conti. Listen, Crawford isn't the only fighter that's on Snack. Snack has not produced a group of fighters that have never taken a loss. Crawford just happened to be the best fighter ever to have Snack as a sponsor. Give it up. Yeah, I wanted to have a moment of peace in recognition of being alive to witness one of the greatest. And though we will all have aged a bit more once he take the microphone and he's given the jacket and he gives his speech, but we can say that we've seen him fight two of the most memorable fights in boxing, that we was here to talk about it, we was here to witness it, and we was here to critique it, and we was here to see him step up after the Spence fight and take out one of the faces of boxing. Not just because he was considered the cash cow, one time considered pound for pound best. No, not just that. We're speaking on a level when it comes to Canelo Alvarez that who would have thought that Crawford moving up 2 weight divisions without a single debut fight? How dare he have the audacity, the gall? He is preposterous. It is preposterous for Crawford to even take that into consideration. Who in his camp agreed to say it's time to go after Canelo? Absurd. Absurd, I say. Who checked the box and said Crawford was ready for Canelo? Who in his camp knew that Crawford was not only ready, but he was going to go in there and dominate and fight in the pocket the way he did against a fighter who has been on record for earning knockdowns, knockouts? Edgar Berlanga, knockdown. Jaime Magia, knockdown. Charlo, lockdown. No skull knockdown. John Ryder knockdown. No Triple G knockdown. But you get what I'm saying, right? He was getting all these knockdowns. But there was voices out there harmonizing, talking about Crawford may get knocked out. Not knocked down, knocked out. You know why? Because they just couldn't fathom the fact that Crawford was supposedly allowing his ego to direct traffic and pilot his travels up to 168 pounds without taking what is considered to be a tune-up, moving 2 weight class up. Not just any 2 weight classes, but we're talking about heavier weight classes. We're talking about going in there with a fighter who has fought as high as 175 pounds, y'all. Who allowed Crawford to believe? Who possessed that man? Who pissed him off? Who said, Crawford, you're not good enough? You're not good enough, Crawford. You're not good enough. Don't do it. You're not good, Crawford. Don't do it. Hey, Bud, can I talk to you for a minute? Yeah, it's rumor. It's rumor out there. Scuttlebutt. Sidebar conversations that said that you're thinking about facing Saul Canelo Alvarez. Is that true, Bud? Yeah, I've been drinking. Me and the team been talking. Hey, hold on. I don't mean to cut you off. I don't mean to be disrespectful. I just want to get this so there be no misunderstanding. Okay, this is on the record. Okay, I'm just letting you know. You just said that you're absolutely intend to challenge Saul Canelo Alvarez, 168 pounds, is an undisputed super middleweight champion. Yes, that's what me and the team has talked about. Yeah, that's what we plan on doing. Can I ask you a question? Not to be rude, but is it a winning fight? Is it a winning fight for you? Do you see yourself winning there, Crawford? Is this a money grab? I'm being respectful. No, it's not a money grab. I believe I can go in there and beat him. Not only that, I think I can go knock him out. Are you losing it? What is this rubbish you speak of? Knock him out. Anyway, let me get back to it. I'm just saying, there were some people when Canelo Alvarez was mentioned in Crawford's conversational cadence, they felt like the reason for his march was for a paycheck. What they say, y'all? A paycheck, a cash out. Payday, payday, payday. That's what they start saying to Crawford. He's looking for a payday, payday, payday on his way out, his last fight. They were saying that was the reason. It was a cash grab. There's no way he was actually believing that he could go in there and beat the man. He wasn't a myth because he'd been beaten already. The man, the legend, Saul Canelo Alvarez. They believe that Crawford, who has been noted, bookmarked as being the boxer who Yurkis Gamboa hurt. They have selective amnesia when they tell you the rest of the fight. But he has been on record as being the fighter that Gamboa hurt. All the way up to him winning titles and he continued to win. They still wanted to talk about Gamboa. So when Canelo came up there, you heard these content creators speak. Ew. Very sly with the tongue. Belligerent individuals who dogged Crawford out every chance they get. They made it extremely personal. Everything outside the ring didn't have too much to do with inside unless it was training. But these people was talking about this man business moves. They talking about he moved funny. He was dumb, stupid. You know who you are. I'm not here to really name drop, but those individuals have since changed their tune because at the end of the day, you cannot change what is registered. The boxing analysts will always give you the results that's requested. Who is the first professional boxer to become two-time undisputed? Terrence Bud Crawford. I mean, you're going to get that. Who is the first professional boxer to become three-time undisputed? Both of these questions in the four-belt era. Terrence Bud Crawford. You can't change it. You can't change it. It's there. Salute to Sir Crawford. Salute to giving us what we always wanted to see. We wanted to see a fighter challenge and do what they consider to be the impossible. Isn't that what we wanted? We wanted something to be unimaginable. How dare Crawford go up there and challenge Canelo Alvarez, the Mexican savior? How dare he? You understand? How dare Terrence Bud Crawford shoot for excellence? How dare he continue to show the boxing world, you may doubt me, but it's good. I'm not really listening to what you have to say anyway. Because I've always been proving people wrong anyway in my whole entire life. You say I can't do it, I say I can do it. Terrence Crawford's telescope has always zoomed in at a different angle than anyone else, especially the critics. The critics was looking at him head on and say, stop, don't do this no more. You don't have nothing else to prove after Spence. You don't have nothing else to prove after Spence. That's what they said. They wanted him to end with Errol Spence being his stamp of approval to go off into the distance, knowing that even though Crawford had a boxing halo, he was sitting upon the throne, heavy as the head who wear it. There was still more work to be done. We didn't know what work that was, but it was still up there just levitating. Oh, how do we just send this off into the stratosphere? So whoever's trying to reach up and grab it, it would be out of reach. What more does Crawford have to do? What more? What fight can he have that will provide him limitless recognition when it comes to him knotting the gloves, calling it quits, and finally going off into retirement? And the next time we see him is at the International Boxing Hall of Fame when it comes to enshrining his name with some of the best boxers and the legends and the OGs that ever laced the gloves. You feel me? That's Terrence Bud Crawford. Hearing the announcement that he's retiring. How do I feel about it? Hey, he can do anything. You know what I'm saying? Greatness for him came with many challenges. None of these challenges were alike. You know, some of these fighters, you know, presentation-wise, people say there's no way that Crawford's going to be able to go in there and do that. There's no way to do that. There's no way to that. You know, they always had that handkerchief that they willing to just pull out, you know what I'm saying, dab it on their brow a little bit because they anxious to sit up here and criticize Crawford. Even some of the mainstream outlets, they were so eager. They were salivating at the fact, oh man, Crawford got another fight. Oh, I love hating on Crawford. He wasn't the favorite of these critics. Even the ones who have been out here for quite some time and are well respected in the boxing game, they even had criticism for Crawford. It was some that saying that he could flat out be in the worst fight of his career. He could flat out get stopped. He can flat out be making the worst mistake of his boxing career. And at this age, there's no way that he'll be able to recover, y'all. They were saying that. So why wouldn't you expect the moment he had with Canelo Alvarez to be as great as it was? So why wouldn't you expect it? It was bound to happen. He's going in there with no tune-up, no debut fight. Canelo's coming off a fight with William Skull. He's stepping in there, didn't work hard, didn't have to work hard, retained his belt back, his IBF, completed the stones. Now we're ready for the grand finale. We're ready for Crawford Canelo, Canelo Crawford. Even Canelo said himself that Crawford Easy. Too small. That was Canelo words. He was short. Easy. Too small. No problem. Even Canelo himself was convinced it's no way this small dude is coming up. I've been in there with Bivol, and Bivol couldn't do nothing with me except punch me in my face, outwork me in certain areas. But I didn't get knocked out. So I'm pretty good. I'm not gonna worry about this. I'm not gonna worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Sergey Kovalov, he couldn't do nothing with me, even though he was a little bit older. But he still couldn't do that. I mean, that was Canelo's mindset. I've been up there with the big dogs. They couldn't do nothing with me. He went one. He went 1-1 at 175. So when it came to Crawford moving up to 168, a lot of people had it in their conversation that Crawford was simply too small. If he put on muscle, it's going to be too much for him to carry for 12 championship rounds. When he went in there with Madrimov, I'm glad Crawford looked like he was fighting in a glass of water. He was. Sometimes here and there, they say Crawford's footwork looked a little bit sluggish and lethargic. But on the other hand, if you really watched his boxing skills, he was flowing like water. He was so fluent, so smooth, moving up to 154 to challenge for the title. But he was also in there with a guy who was 10-1 that they was bragging about, had such a decorated amateur career. But Crawford came out victorious. But with that victory, there were critics with umbrella because they was walking around with a cloud over their head looking for Crawford and said, Crawford, don't you think it's time to lace up the gloves, knot them, hang them up? You did everything you can do. You don't need to prove anything. You beat Spence. You beat Madrimov. You're certified. Crawford and his team probably like, there's one other guy out there. We know we can beat. We've been studying him for years. We know we can beat him. We've been studying him for years. Yes, sir. We've been studying him for years. Real talk. His name is Canelo Alvarez. Man, the boxing universe, man, they start the riot damn near. I remember hearing some of these voices on here laughing. Man, they was talking so ill about Crawford. He must be on drugs. He must be drinking now at the end of his career. He must be punch drunk. Early stages of pugilistica. They was talking about his family. Any little open window that they can get to enhance the breeze of criticism, they will make sure it come in hot and heavy. Crawford had to send out cease and desist. People out here claiming that Crawford, the greatest this era, was on steroids. Man, they sat up there and said everything about this man. Talk about the way he looked. The man was juicing. Tried to basically associate. They try to associate Victor Conte's brand with being an enhancement type of supplement that's contributing to Crawford's victories, to him staying undefeated. They was up here saying that in one breath, Errol Spence was weight drained, he was a clone, he was high. And then on the other hand, they saying Terrence Crawford is taking snack and we don't know really what's in the supplement. It has to be some performance enhancing supplements in there to help him perform and box the way he do. They even called up Will Smith from Men in Black and see, hey, is there any way that you can walk up on Crawford and use the red light and blank him out so he forget how good he truly is? We need something to stop him. He's on the rampage, y'all. He continues to win. They was trying to say, where can we get one of those little gadgets that you had so we can put it up to his forehead and so he can forget how to box? Because if he forget the technique that he's learned over the years, I know that he would take that first L. They wanted Crawford to take the first L, y'all. They wanted to see Crawford fans in pieces. Unfortunately for us, we don't know what that feels like. We don't know over here in Budland, not that Budland that you smoke, Bud Crawford land. We don't know what it's like to not hear and new. Yo, stop it. We don't know what it's like. And still. Hey, we don't know what it's like to just get back on live and talk that talk about what Crawford just did to Errol Spence Jr. We don't know what it's like, man. Real talk. Real talk, man. We try so hard to be like, be humble. Sit down. We don't know that talk. Be humble. Sit down. Why should we be humble? And we were supporting the best fight of this era, yo. Anybody care to explain? Your pocket of compliments, is it empty? All we want to hear is a genuine compliment, because you got too many of y'all still out here saying the resume is trash. He ain't did nothing. Canelo is worn. This, that. No. You can't say Canelo is worn. You can't say that Canelo is just not that guy no more. Canelo is the same boxer. Canelo hasn't announced retirement. So when he returns and fights somebody, and let's just say he gets a knockdown or he stops him, right? What next? What's next? Because the only bragging rights anybody in the weight class of Sir Crawford is going to be able to have that printed on a blimp in New York City, billboard status, is that they knock out Canelo Alvarez. Be the first fighter to knock out Canelo Alvarez. That's the only way they're going to get bragging rights for Crawford to come out of retirement and say, hey, Crawford, you need, did you see that right there? Crawford, you need to go fight that guy. He just stopped Canelo. You couldn't do it. That's it. If you go 12 against Canelo and he won, no one's going to be thinking or talking about you. Then they're not going to care to give you a grade on your performance. They're going to be like, man, Crawford came up 2 weight divisions. You're talking about somebody who's already competing at 168 pounds. I'm just thinking about that. Us Bud supporters, we're gonna miss this legend. We're gonna miss, him preparing for a fight, going in there, allowing people to lose their homes and vehicles, their 401ks, cashing in their kids' college funds. We're gonna miss that. We're gonna miss it, dog. I mean, really though. Really. Miss it. I'm going to miss all the debates and all the lies and everything that Crawford can't do. Those individuals' lives have changed when it comes to boxing. Their heartbeat is different. Most of them fans that was talking ill about Bud is on pacemakers right now. They still paying off the copay of their insurance. I'm just saying. Crawford ruined a lot of boxing fans who wore the green, white, and red. Crawford ruined a lot of boxing fans that were Errol Spence supporters. They took it the worst. The Mexican boxing fans, they have so many other Mexicans coming up on the scene. They'll be okay. That's one thing about the Mexican fight fans. They'll be okay. But when you talk about the Errol Spence fans, how Crawford beat that man into seclusion, ostracized him, out of sight, out of mind for months. This man reenacted his rematch clause, knowing good and damn well he wasn't stepping back in there with Crawford. Put a patch over his eye and kept it pushing. But yet, I think to myself, I say, what can I do to help them out? Should I start a charitable organization to help them recover and return back to the sport for the next up-and-coming Errol Spence? Should I? And then I said, hell to the hell no. Because I've sat here and listened to people criticize Crawford when he said he couldn't do it. I heard all the name calling, the constant bickering back and forth, man, and now the man is retired. Shout out to Terrence Bud Crawford for doing what he had to do, man. Not just going out there and doing it, but just making a statement the way he did. His statement, oh, nasty. As so many say, nasty work. The boxing scene article goes on to say his critics have nowhere left to run. Even if Spence and Canelo still alone on his record, that would have been enough to demand a place in the pantheon. But they don't stand alone. His ledger is long and spotless. If anything, his only flaw was never caring much for the spotlight. Had he leaned into the circus, perhaps more would have seen the lion. Talk to him, Frankie. And that's what we have a lot of out here on the YouTube community. You remember I was the one that said death to the YTBC when they was attempting to make it as such an acronym of importance. I shut that down. I said there's no such thing as a YouTube boxing community. You don't have enough individuals that's associated in that community to constantly speak on boxing with integrity, of course, with integrity. What he just said is absolutely facts. He never leaned into the circus. When those around him was dancing and doing tricks, jumping through the freaking ring of fire, swinging on the trapeze, jumping on the trampoline, when they was making all these clownish type comments, Crawford continued to make them build up a circus that continued to grow and grow and grow. And you know what happened when you have a lot of clowns in a circus? You look at their face paint and their smile starts to turn into a frown. You see that. And that's what happened with a lot of these clowns. They were smiling, they had on the makeup, the outfit, and they was dancing around here talking ill about Crawford, what he couldn't do, until he went in there and proved it to him again. I can not only do it, I can do it fantastically. It says boxing retirements are often provisional things. They wobble under the weight of money, ego, or the simple addiction to war. But with Crawford, you hope it sticks. Not because he's fading. He's not. But because endings, when earned, deserve to stay intact. Let the story finish here with the boy from Omaha who became a man under the lights of Las Vegas, outthinking and outfighting them all. Let the silence of his exit echo, not with absence, but with awe. Well said. Well said. Not with absence, but with awe. And you know what, Crawford? I don't think it would never be with awe until you are absolute in your totality, absent from the sport. Because as long as it's a potential or as a possibility of you returning for a big fight, they're going to continue to hate on you. They're going to look at your box record and say, oh, Crawford's 39 now. Crawford's 39 years old, y'all. 2026, Crawford 39 years old. What are you doing, man? He about to go in there, he's 39 years old. And then they're going to start going down all these other black fighters that were 39 or 40 years old that lost because they stayed in the ring too long. That's what they do, Shawty. Crawford's pretty much proved that his subscription to boxing was his alone. And if you stayed around for page, he was going to write his own story. Yes, you know WCS can talk this. Yes, I can clap it up for myself. Yeah. His subscription, he wanted to write his articles his way. He may not have been out here heavy in the media, but with anything, if you stay active, you have a license, and you continue to perform at the highest level, you're going to continue to see chapter after chapter after chapter after chapter. And when you get to a point of Canelo Alvarez, it doesn't mean it's the end of the chapter. It just means when people are reading your accomplishments page to page, they're going to start to see, oh, wow, this is actually happening. I was reading this right here, and it seems like that they say that he was having trouble. He's not a fan-friendly fighter. They kind of question how far he would be, how far he would excel in the sport. We're just really not sure at this time. Till Crawford is one of the best fighters today. He's a champion who is continuing to prove his doubters wrong. He has slapped many critics across the face. But that, my friends, that's not on the scorecard. Those knockouts of the ones that said Crawford couldn't do it, that doesn't consist of the 10-9 scoring system or the round-for-round scoring system inside the ring. That is just something that's outside that the people have to deal with when they're up here frowned up, cracking wine bottles off their noggin, pissed off because now, once again, Crawford has caused them to lose money. I wish I could have been there to inhale the night when Crawford fought Spence, because I remember seeing those Arrow pundits looking around in frustration. It was just hilarious, man, to think that there was a covert mission going on with Smoking on Bud t-shirts. And they just felt that it would be a finale to slide those shirts on and take a picture, believing that Errol Spence was finally going to have his breakout fight and Crawford would be the name on his resume to solidify that Errol Spence is one of the best. And they've been saying that over and over again to go in there and defeat Crawford, and it just didn't happen. Just think about walking out of the auditorium knowing that you got to catch that flight at 5:45 a.m. Oh, life is full of sunshine and rainbows, ain't it? You got to catch that flight early in the morning. All you've been doing up to that is in the airport talking to other Errol Spence fans at that time and saying, man, this is going to be a soft, rough, silent flight home. Oh my God. Oh my God. I was expecting to be bragging about it. I was going to brag about this L that Terrence Crawford. That's what they were saying. I was going to brag about this L. That's what I wanted to do. That's one thing about the Terrence Crawford naysayers. They was seeding at the moment to once in this lifetime brag about the first L he took. And they was hoping and praying that Errol Spence would be. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. You know what it is. You know what I'm saying? These haters get tendinitis when Crawford name pops up. They joints start to feel a certain way. Because look, that's the residual effect when you've been one of these haters and all you were selling is wolf tickets. Part of the elite bluffing coalition. Y'all bluffed and bluffed and bluffed all the time, saying that Crawford couldn't do anything at 168. He was in over his head. You know the sayings. He was in over his head. See, he's overconfident. But you know well as I do, the collision course had to happen sooner or later because we all knew that Team Crawford wasn't satisfied with leaving the sport with a Madrimov as their final fight. They wasn't satisfied with just Ichi ni san chi, uno, dos, tres, cuatro divisions. They wasn't satisfied. They wasn't satisfied, y'all. They wasn't satisfied, yo. They're not satisfied with cinco. They're not satisfied with cinco. What are they going to be satisfied with? 100 million? What are they going to be satisfied with? Somebody help me understand. What are they going to be satisfied with, Team Crawford? Well, I've been hearing 100 million. My only disappointment about Crawford fighting Canelo is that he didn't get paid more. I'm not someone that posts up and trying to see what Crawford is making. You know, his last couple of fights, I was like, I hope he get paid. That was my concern. I hope he get paid more than he's been getting paid. I know when he was fighting Avanesian, people had to change their diapers because they said there's no way he deserved 10 million, even though he's fighting in his backyard, to fight Avanesian. Because Avanesian already been knocked out by a common opponent of Terrence Bud Crawford and Igis Kavalauskas. Say it ain't so. But hey, why would Bud do that? Because his resume was marginal. You know why they said that? Because he was supposed to be fighting Errol Spence at that present time, and he was ducking. They say Crawford was ducking EJ. That's why he shouldn't get 10 mil for Avanesian. And lo and behold, the two black fighters, the two brothers, stepped away from negotiation, cleaned up, tightened up some loose edges, polished it, communicate. Well, they say black people don't know how to communicate with each other. Communicated with one another. Got on one chord. The music and the instruments start to link up. The tune, they start tuning that damn negotiation, what they need. And when it was finally played out to the general public, the fight was made, baby. The fight was made. We getting Terrence Bud Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. It was a delight. It was a delight, y'all. To see him go in there and get the results in that fashion, absolutely entertaining. But the one that just consummated it all, the one that boiled over, y'all, like standing next to a volcano, smoking a nice fat split, smoking on that broccoli, that ganja, saying, damn, it's cold out here. I'm serious. That fight right there, for some people, it reminded them of looking at the movie Total Recall. You know, when you couldn't go outside unless you had, you know, you were looking to commit suicide. They was on space, y'all. That fight right there was somewhat like some that you deal with boxing astrology. It wasn't even here on Earth, because how could he consider himself to be qualified just based off having a license and being a 154-pound champion? How did they say to themselves, how is Terrence Crawford, how does he believe he's qualified to step in the ring 2 divisions higher and have the belief that he can defeat Canelo Alvarez. Well, we all seen how that went down. Say it ain't so. You have a lot of anemic boxing fans out there. For real. That shit, they had low iron quick. They saw the first 6 rounds. They was like, I'm feeling a little sluggish right now. Somebody go get me something with some iron in it. And bring some extra so you can put it in Canelo gloves during the round. Hurry up. Put some of that iron in his gloves. Oh my God, man. But let me go through some of these comments, yo. Shout out to Blue Hustle in the building, man. Shout out to Charles in the building. Shout out to Samar Warren. What it do, big dog? Haven't seen you in a minute. What it do, man? Peace and blessings. Beloved, salute WCS certified, stamp the like button and support the grind. Hey, that's Samar, man. I was, just saying how Crawford has somewhat extracted a portion of your certified stamp the like button. Crawford has certified stamped the like button on his career after that Canelo victory. Come on, bro. Come on, man. Come on, man. Shout out to L-Dog in the building. Mike in the building. What's good? He has certified stamped the like button. You either love him or hate him, but you got to like him. Because when it comes to boxing, he did what a lot of you all look forward to fighters doing. Something outside their comfort zone, something unimaginable, and seeing them going out here and coming out victorious. Certify stamp the like button. I want to give a big shout out to the hottest chat in the MFing game, yo. And that shout out always will go out to one of the best to ever do it that I had the opportunity to interview when he was young in the game. I had the opportunity to see on several occasions, see several of his fights. A full-time supporter, not from the couch. Some of you cats caught him when he was already on his grind and already, accomplished and all that. No, I was out there on the grind when he was coming up. But shout out to Terrence Bud Crawford, man. Those memories right there, you know what I'm saying, from one black man to another, man, I salute you. You are now Sir Crawford in the boxing royalty. You are now seated in the hierarchy of the boxing pantheon, my brother. We definitely love you. We appreciate with the highest value on what you was able to accomplish in here. I'm glad that you do care about the haters, but when you split the ropes, the way you discipline them, I think it proves everything to everybody. The way you don't let the haters allow you to allow your performance to be affected. You go in there and take it out on your opposition. And that's the way it's supposed to be done. That's the caliber of fighter that you are. You wrote chapters that cannot be changed. There's no editing to Terrence Crawford's chapters in boxing. They're printed, signed, sealed, and delivered. Just like Samad said, certify stamp the like button. All right. Until next time, man. Salute. Another time, another place. I'm out.